Alan McCormick will take over. Thanks
All
for
right.
listening, everybody.
Yep. Thanks, Tim. Sorry about that, guys. I had something come up literally 2 minutes before this whole thing was supposed to start. So, like Tim said, I'm Al McCormick. I'm the president of FVB, and now I'm one of the assigners now, which I never thought I would say. But I am the assigner for the NIC 10, which is the Rockford schools, Freeport, um, Belvedere, Rockton, Roscoe, Hononegah, Harlem, those schools up there. So, um, if you get bored of doing games in towards the city, you can come out. You can come out our way. We got some, I would say, we have some good teams out there. It'd be um, some good experiences for you too. If you so these sessions, heard we had some questions from you guys. I recognize a lot of the names as well. Um, we do have one live microphone. If you double check your microphone, make sure you're not giving any feedback here. But we we'll start these sessions, and we're gonna pick a topic for the week. We might do videos. It might be it could be sessions like tonight's mental side of umpiring. This is one that I've been looking at and looking through, and um, all started from trying to fix my golf game a little bit, and then kind of read some stuff here, and it kind of um, falls into something that can work for umpiring. So, hey, is it Chris Curl? Can you mute your microphone, please? You keep jumping over the top here. Um, he still is. So that's where we get got this information from. That's where kind of adapted it from Exit Golf podcast that I listened to and thought that'd be perfect for guys that are working through umpiring too. It's a little brain science. Other weeks we'll go over the tests. We haven't decided exactly which day yet, but we'll be doing that eventually. And a little bit earlier this year, just with some of the different certification changes that are requirements for that, I should say, we're going to try to do that earlier. We usually traditionally do that in the last session, but this year we're going to do it a little earlier. We'll watch video. We'll see videos. There's a ton of stuff out there between TikTok and YouTube and Facebook. The reels and everything. There's a lot of good stuff. So part of this presentation we'll be talking about really your experiences. The more you experience, the more you see, the easier it will be to recall things when they happen in your games. You won't be surprised by it. So I think in anything in the world, umpiring, but anything else really in the world, surprise is your enemy, right? And when you're surprised, when the situation not sure what to do, that's when you can get in trouble, or that's when you get flustered and things can go sideways on you. So these are supposed to be interactive presentations. So if you have questions as we go, go ahead and unmute your microphone. There's a raise your hand function. You can use that, or you can put something in the chat. I'm going to try to keep the chat open, but I'm also trying to present, so it's kind of hard to go back and forth. So,
Hey, Al, I got the chat.
you got chat, perfect.
I'm updating it.
Yeah, if there's something else, if there's something in the chat that needs to be in the whole group, let me know, Tim, and then we can get stopped and we can ask the questions out. I know some guys struggle with the
Copy.
microphones or don't want to throw your voice out there, but we can do that. We can do that too. So first, I wanted to show we're just going to do one play this week. I don't know how I haven't given this presentation yet, so I don't know how long it's going to take. But there's one video. It popped up on Facebook this morning actually, and I thought it'd be a good one to share. I can't remember how to do this. Everybody this week, when you come into your goal, or your job is, if I don't start the recording, is for you to remind me to start the recording. I've forgotten over the years, I've forgotten more sessions, forgotten to record more sessions than I've actually recorded. So there's a lot of people that ask about recording these and seeing them. So I will we'll have a YouTube page with these recordings on them where you can access all them in one spot. So I don't have to send a link every week. I'll have it uploaded within 24 hours of these sessions being done. And then you can watch the videos if you can't make it for some reason. All right, everybody can see a play in the middle of the screen here. So this play, to set this up, we're looking at the interaction between the catcher and the batter. Obviously, there's contact there, so it's obvious that there should be something on this call. You're just looking at is this called batter interference, or is it this a nothing call? So all right, everybody was able to. I'm going to play it one more time. Make sure you can see it. If anybody's having trouble, I will put. I'm not sure if this will work. This is from Facebook, but I'll put it in the chat. If I can find the chat. This is the link that I have for Facebook. I don't know if it would be for logging in or if it's public or not, but if you're struggling to see it on my screen, you can get it the link in the chat. But we'll watch it one more time and open it up for discussion. All right, so this happens in your game, right? And you make no call, right? You don't know. So just say, hey, this is we'll say this is interference, right? You call interference. I'm not saying that's the right answer or wrong answer. I'm just saying in this game you got to make a call. You call it interference, right? If a coach comes out to question that, right, which they probably will, right? What are you going to say? Like people that think it would be interference. What would your explanation be on this call? Why it would be interference?
He did an attempt to move. The batter didn't attempt to move.
Okay, batter didn't attempt to move. Okay, what other reasoning would you say that it would be interference? Where's
Yeah,
anybody else? Anybody else jump in?
Didn't he contact the bat? And he had the bat up.
Yeah, his hand or his wrist or something. You could hear it in the video. It tinged against that bat. So there's definitely contact. No question about it. His arm or hand or something hit the barrel of the bat on the throw.
Yeah, he definitely had the bat up and was clearly in the line. But for context, and we're assuming that this is for training purposes, this is an interference call, but the reality is that he doesn't move at all. He's just trying to get ready for his next swing.
Yeah, there's no don't assume anything on these videos. I'm gonna show a lot on either side of everything. So my goal with the videos is that you can watch it and there's gonna be some disagreement on what the call is, right? So on this, like it could go either way, right? Or it can't go either way. There's really a right answer on this, but it can there's differing opinions on it. And not every opinion's right by the rule book, right? But my goal is to get you to the point where if this happens in the game, you're going to know what the call to make and you're going to be able to explain it to the coach why you made the call, why that's right? So I've seen a couple people in the chat say one way or the other, right? On this play, okay, the batter, so ultimately the batter it cannot do anything to interfere, right? So on a play like this, right? Their job is to not interfere with the catcher, right? Did the batter do anything to interfere with the catcher? Right? So no, the batter, we saw he just stood there, right? Now is just standing there enough to be interference, right? Right? Because I had another video, but I lost it. I clicked it off when I was looking, but ultimately the bat on this play, right, on a throw from the catcher, on a trying to attempt to retire a runner, if the batter freezes and stays, it's nothing. You know, there's a case play. I don't have it in front of me. I think it's 7-3 something. That talks about this play exactly, right? The batter, like if I go to the dark side and become a coach, I would tell my batters to not move on these plays. The worst thing they can do is move, right? Because if this batter moves and hinders the catcher, I got interference all day, right? If he takes a step back, if he drops his bat, if he leans forward, leans back, steps back and tries to go towards the dugout, and it hinders the catcher's throw, it's interference all day, right? You're gonna have that because the batter's movement caused interference on that. You know, hindered the catcher, which we got interference on that. Okay. If they freeze on these plays, they're good. There's no interference. We have a case play to support it. And if that coach comes out, right? So now you say you call nothing, right? And the coach comes out and asks you a question, right? You're gonna say, the batter did not do anything to interfere with the catcher. And by rule, he's allowed to freeze in the batter's box and not move and it not be interference. That should, the by rule thing scares people because you're going to know the rule book better, even as a first year umpire, than most coaches. And if you say that, it causes a little hesitation most of the time, right? And we'll get you there. But this now, when you see this play, that is, by rule there is. Now where this some confusion. So not on this play, but now you take this similar situation, right? Ball gets away from the catcher, and now we have a runner on third that is trying to score, right? That's where this batter should vacate the area to get out of the way, right? Just standing there can be interference on a play at the plate, but it won't be interference on a throw to retire a runner. Okay. On this call, there's no interference on here. You can give it doesn't hurt to say that's nothing, right? And give a safe signal, right? Just saying that you acknowledge it, this is a something happened and there was nothing there. That's a good, you can do that. It's not 100% necessary, but it might save you, some explanation on this play, or other things where there's weird stuff that happens. Acknowledging that you saw it, because they might think, oh, you didn't see it, right? If this is more subtle contact or subtle interaction between them, acknowledging that you saw it might help you with the explanation and the interaction with the coach when they come out.
Is it a dead ball?
This would not be a dead ball. Even if this was, so say this batter took a step back and is interference, right? It wouldn't be a dead ball. It'd be a delayed dead ball. Okay. On batter interference, if it's a delayed dead ball until the initial throw by the catcher either retires the runner or doesn't retire the runner. So if on this play you're going to have interference, the throw goes down and he still throws the guy out. Okay, still out at third. Then you ignore by rule you ignore the interference, and the runner is out. If that throw, this throw gets there, and gets knocked down, it doesn't retire the runner. Okay. As soon as that doesn't happen, then you throws it out into left field, and the circus comes down. Everybody's running around. That's when you kill it. Dead ball. You say time, that's interference. You point at the batter, and the batter would be out, and you would send R2 back to second base. Unless there's two outs. If there's two outs, then the batter would be out on that play. You don't see this as much going towards third base. The typical batter, the traditional batter interference is when the batter leans over the plate or falls over the plate and there's a throw at second. That you're going to see more interaction there but it does happen, at third base as well. I had to play, earlier in my career, probably, I don't know, it's been 15 years or so. It was at Marion Central. I don't know who they were playing, but there was it's a runner on first, and I believe, yeah, Marion was on defense, and they tried to back pick the runner on first, and they threw, and it bounced off, the ball bounced off the helmet of the batter and went over the backstop. Okay, so Greg Wickerack, was the coach then. If you ever had the honor of working his games, legendary coach. He was a little fiery on most things, and he was the coach that tested me as a young official to become better. Trying to explain that to him is, he was not buying it at first, right? But ultimately, that batter didn't do anything to interfere. And now that ball bounces off his helmet and goes over the backstop. Now we have a 2-base award. So I think it was first and third at the time. They tried to, for some reason, pick off the runner on first. So we scored a run and put that runner on first on third base. So that was one of the angrier times I saw Greg during a game. But if I would have called that interference, and then that batter would have been out versus the runner getting 2 bases. So that was, the explanation had to be there. I don't remember if I did it well or not. I was early in my career, so it wasn't as good at this stuff then, as I, as calm as I am now, hopefully. But you got to be ready for it. That's why, like, plays like this, like I would suggest, like, if you're going through on social media and seeing baseball plays, don't read the comments from fans and parents, because you're just going to pull your hair out. Search for the umpire in the group and look for the one that has the rule references in it, and kind of look at, see what because if I actually clicked on this and looked at the comments, it would be all over the board, and confidently ignorant to what the real rule is. So, but seeing videos like this and seeing situations, looking up the rules, texting another umpire buddy, trying to find out the right answers to it, is how you're going to just get better, right? And the more, just be more seasoned and be not surprised by the situations that come up, right? Then if you do have these plays in your game, you're not sure about it, you don't have a partner, or if your partner is there, and you're not, he's not sure about it either, don't be afraid to look it up afterwards. Call somebody when you're sitting in the parking lot. All those things to just find the right answer and get better, right? Admit when you're wrong, and admit that you made a mistake, and just keep trying to get better on stuff, and don't be too proud to not admit when you make a mistake, right?
I got one quick question to ask you, and this is going to volley more towards like the play at the plate, like especially for stealing at home. So I know it's interference if the batter kind of interferes with the throw or on the tag, but is it also any kind of interference if the batter itself like interferes with his own runner, or is that nothing at all?
No, you can't interfere with your own. If the batter gets away with the runner, that's tough. That's just nothing, right? You're just you're looking for obstruction interference caused between interactions between opposing players. If it's the same team, then it's nothing.
Okay.
Hey, Al, hang on a second.
Sure.
Hey, Jeff, you're asking if it's called the third strike on the batter, less than 2 outs. Do you have a double play? Is that what I'm understanding? So can you?
I was just making a point saying, like, if you call this play interference and you have a strike 3 on the batter in there and you have less than 2 outs, because you need an out for both things. So that's one time you would call the runner out, because you need an out for the strikeout on the batter, and then you would have an out on the runner for the interference.
Correct. Yeah. you can't call the batter out twice. So he's out for strikes and out for the then you got to call somebody else out for the interference. So yeah, correct. All right. Anything else on that before we jump into the main topic here?
Yeah, if that throw again goes out of bounds, that means the runner would get home. If the catcher's throwing the ball,
yeah. So if it's not interference and the ball goes out of play, yeah, then it's just a normal base award. So it'd be two bases from the time of throw, which yeah, he would get home plate. Yep.
Okay.
It just when the things like that happen, it's when they get mad, they get more angry, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's harder to explain.
Oh yeah.
Right
Oh,
when things compound on top of each other is when it makes it harder. But yeah, but yes, if you judge it as no interference, then the ball's live and we're moving around, so everything's still in play.
so we're saying that plays a judgment call, but we're
I'm saying
potential
that play by rule is not interference.
not interference, and if that ball were to go out of bounds, then that runner gets home. Okay.
Yep.
10-4.
Yeah, there's a case play. I don't know if somebody could look on the Facebook page and what it is and put it in the chat. It's set, somebody put it in there. It's set. I want to say it's like 735, something like that. But
Okay.
this exact play is in the case book. So
Okay.
do what the ruling is.
Cool.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna go. So the mental side of umpiring, right? This stuff can be hard, right? If umpiring were easy, we wouldn't have to have sessions in the wintertime. We wouldn't have to talk about rules all the time. We wouldn't have to go through all this stuff, right? And it's hard because the way, and part of it's hard because the way our brain is wired, right? As you go through. So I'm basing this off of it's Costa's 3 levels of thinking and questioning. So again, I came across this from a golf podcast that I listened to, and it talks about level 1 thinking is just the basic gathering and recall. So it's the stuff and you can spout off, right? And you don't need to think about it. You just you know it's there. It's easy decisions. They're very simple answers. You don't have to. It's the pitch that goes right down the middle, right? It's a strike. You don't have to think about it. It's just there, right? Our brain wants to be in that universe, right? It's easier for us. It takes less energy to be in that world in level 1. Level 2, you gather information. You have to think about it a little bit, right? It's not a simple recall and go. It's something where you have to analyze the information. The information, it's there, but you got to go find it, right? You got to go dig it up and go with it, right? And then applying and evaluating information is where you have to really think through more complex things. We don't have a lot of that, in baseball and in umpiring, but you might touch some of that at times. It's when the more complex things happen, right? The one for me, and this is all personal to your experience and your knowledge of the game and your experience of how you worked or what you've seen or what you've done. Level 3 for me would be batting out of order, right? Like it's something that I know the concepts to it, but it's going to take me a while, right? And I'm never gonna, never gonna rule on a batting out of order without my partner to think it through and talk it through, because it's just the rule is complex and it's not something you use all the time. So that's the basic. You could look at. There's a lot of analysis and there's the research behind it. It's if you just Google Costa's 3 levels of thinking and questioning, this this stuff will pop up. But this is the basic of it. So level 1 thoughts. It's fundamental decision making. It's you reacting what happens in the moment. Umpire focused on immediate calls like ball strikes, fair, foul, whether a player's safe or out or not, on not a close play, on those. It doesn't take a lot of brain power to do it. It's not taking a lot of energy to make those calls. Mostly just processing the basics. There's less thinking about strategy or context. It's more about executing the role in a straightforward way. So this is, 80%, 90% of what you do during the game, right? It's, doesn't take a lot of brain power, doesn't take a lot of energy. It's just the basics of what the game is going. So, example, a simple call, whether pitch is a strike or ball, or whether runner is safe or out, are some there. Level two, or strategic level, umpire begins to think more strategically. They're anticipating plays, reading situations, factoring game context, right? So this is, difference between, this is where, and this is why we give signals to our partner. Our partner gives things back. We're looking at, here's the situation, we're analyzing it, and we're giving the information back. Things like this is why we always give signals to each other. Even though, if I worked a game, I've worked more games than anybody with Derek Lee in my career. We don't need to do, we're both pretty experienced. We know where we're supposed to be, 2-man system. But we still give a signal every single time, right? No matter how experienced you are, we can forget this because it takes, it's not just basic, the ball's hit and I gotta go cover, I gotta make a call at first base. Like there's a lot of other stuff that could happen here. So you're not just reacting, but you're processing multiple elements at once. Maybe think about positioning, how to manage a game, whether there are tensions to be diffused, if a confrontation with players or coaches might arise. This is where, you rang up, you missed a pitch and rang a kid up at a pitch below the knees at the top of the first, bottom of the first, it pitches to the same spot. It wasn't a strike the first time, but you called it a strike, and now you call it a ball, and now what's going to happen, right? You're going to get some comment, right? It may be maybe a smart ass comment from a fan. It could be a comment from the fourth string catcher from in the back of the dugout. It might be or it might just be the coach, kind of rightfully so, reminding you that pitch was a ball. It was a strike the inning before, right? You're anticipating that. What am I going to do? How am I going to do that? Deal with that. So, it said, umpires at level 2 actively think about how their decisions affect the flow of the game and how they maintain control, and prevent problems. So how do you react to that? Right? Like that's where, if you're living in the level 1 world, right? What are we supposed to do with a coach that's arguing balls and strikes, right? Black and white, like we don't have experience on how to handle the coach. We're gonna warn it, or we go through our progression, or we're gonna say something back, right? Where you're experienced and you've been here a little bit, you've done things more, you've interacted with more coaches, you've missed more pitches, done that where you called one pitch, the exact same pitch, a ball all in one inning and a strike in another inning, right? You might eat crow a little bit, right? Like you might be, yeah, I know. Like, and my reaction was, to the if that happens, right? Something happens, I'll say to the catcher, yeah, I'm sorry, I missed the other one, right? I'm not going to miss this pitch too. And you're trying to make it right, right? You're not locked in because you call the pitch low, a strike. You're not locked into that the rest of the game, right? You just fix it, right? You're allowed to miss pitches. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, right? You're not going to, even the best umpires miss calls. It's how do you react to that? And does that interaction spiral you into where your brain capacity is worrying about how to handle the situation in the dugout, and now even the basic, you don't have the capacity to make the ball strike calls, right? So even in the level 2 is the knee pitch on the corner, outside corner. It's the pitch that's coming right at your face, and did the batter swing or not? Like it's the close pitches that you got to take a little bit more to see. That's why we preach timing, right? It gives you time to your brain to process this, right? The pitch right down the middle, nobody needs time on. You could call it before the catcher catches it, right? But the knee pitch, that's riding away on the outside corner, right? You need a little time. So that's why we take more time on all the pitches. So we have time to process the ones that need to be processed, and you give them a little more time, right? Yeah, Aaron, exactly. The outside pitches are the hardest, right? we've intentionally set ourselves up not in the best place to see the outside corner because we don't want to die, right? We don't want to get concussions. We don't want to get whiplash. We don't want to get hit by every foul ball that goes back to the backstop, right? So we sacrifice um, the best look at every pitch to go in the inside corner so we don't get killed, right? And that's the sacrifice that's there and it's accepted. But it makes the outside, it makes the low outside pitch and the high outside pitch harder to call, right? It never gets easier, right? But it's eventually you'll get better at being more consistent with it. But it's always there, and that's why that's more. I would say that's more of a level 2 thought versus the pitch down the middle being a level 1, right? So example, anticipate a potential play at the home plate based on the runner's speed and batter position, right? It's base loaded 2 outs and the runners are off of the pitch. So now there might be a play or R1 gets home and there's going to be a call, right? Ball goes in the gap where they're going to be. That's where you have a runner on first and the runner's stealing and there's a ball in the gap, right? Home plate responsibility is to cover third, right? But I take in the entire situation, right? Analyze it, and that ball got past the right fielder and center fielder backs are turned and they're running towards the wall, chasing the ball, right? Am I going to run all the way up to third base just to say I did and then come all the way back, right? That's where he's like, take a second, react to it, and then you can tell your partner, hey, I'm staying home, and you just stay home because there's not going to be a play up at third base, right? But that's I've seen a lot of guys, and I've done it myself, right? You're blind. It's a level. You think it's a level 1 thought, and you're running down to third base, and it's like, shit, why am I doing this? And now I got to bust my ass back and get behind the home plate so I can have a call because there might be a play at home or there's not going to be a play at third base, right? Or where coaches are going to question calls. If you call a balk, nobody's ever happy about that. Call running or lane interference, nobody's ever happy about that. Those things where you can anticipate, like you call it, it's like, all right, he's going to come. What am I going to say? Right. Take that time from when you make the call to you see a coach coming, right? Let them get there, collect your thoughts, give yourself time to analyze what you're going to make and just decide what you're going to say. Let the coach talk, and then now you have time, you process it. Now you can go next because those are a little harder. You don't know what he's going to say. It could be a surprise. He could be asking for something that you're anticipating him, the coach asking for. So those are ways to de-escalate, and those are things. That's why game management is hard for a newer official, right? Because you're using more brain power and you're level 2 more with the basics, right? Where the level 2 stuff could be level 3 because it's harder, right? You don't have the experience level or the memories of what to do in their situations. So that's why we talk, do the videos, and it's why, being here is a good thing because we could talk about these situations with people that have done it, right? There's a lot of people in the room that want to keep coming back. Like I get all mine from just researching this stuff, right? And looking through and trying to be better. And I'm watch way more videos on my phone than I should. But a lot of it's umpire videos and a lot of it trying to get better at what you do. So level 3 thoughts. This is the mastery level. Okay. It represents deep mastery of the craft. Umpires at this stage are thinking not just about the game. They are fishing about long-term flow, how they can shape the experience for everyone involved. They tune in rhythm of the game, make decisions instinctively without much hesitation or second guessing. That's right. So that's where you can make a batter interference call confidently and without getting help, or you can explain it quickly. You can explain what it is without searching for the words, right? You can de-escalate coaches or players without having to eject or warn. You just have the ability, you have that interaction skills and the people skills to work with with that person to bring them down to where they're at. It's maybe an experience with a coach, right? Somebody that you've worked a ton of games for, that where what their actions are going to be, or you can anticipate a little bit. You know what to say to them. You have that relationship with them where you just know how to diffuse it, right? so sense of timing, right? It's, a game flow, like, there's, I would say that, game times, right? You'll see once the season starts, if you look on our Facebook page, guys will be bragging about, hour and 20-minute plate job. My game only took hour and 10 minutes today. Um, so for the most part, right? We have almost zero influence on game time, the game, but we do have influence on, um, like the flow between innings, um, making sure, like, being aware of, how many pitches the pitcher's throwing, making sure they're being efficient. If you don't have, the catcher's the last one up and you don't see anybody stirring the kit, just yelling, "Hey, coach, can somebody catch him?" Right? There's little things you can do, right? But, for everybody that brags about a hour and 10 minutes game, is also not bragging about their 3 hour, 7 inning game that they did as well. But those things, you can help some of that, right? You can be efficient with how you handle the extra baseballs in the game, right? Where, you know, just, being efficient, handing, getting the ball to the catcher and going, when you're out of baseballs, letting somebody know so they can bring them to you. All those, like, things that take brain capacity, but you're not so worried about the day to day, or the the mundane things about the game. Those things can be replaced by some of this game management stuff and flow things. Um, it comes with confidence and clarity as well, right? You'll be able to get to the point where you can cite some of the rules in the rules book. I've never been good with rule numbers and all that stuff. I've never been one to say that, but, using rule book language when you do explain calls, right? I don't remember what it was, not to pick on you, but, somebody was asking if the ball goes out of bounds, right? Um, Out of bounds is not a baseball term, right? Out of play is the baseball term, right? Um, Knowing the difference between interference and obstruction, and be able to and really know the difference, and, um, using those terms with the coach correctly, right? Explaining it, how the rules, using the rule book language to explain, even if it's not a quote from the rule book. Those things help, right? It shows your aptitude towards the game, and you've put the time in to understand it, right? Um, things like, things we do, it's kind of related to this, but like your uniform, right? Tim was talking about our new, uniform guideline. But simply, like, I've cleaned my plate shoes and base shoes thousands of times in my career, just for the first 3 steps I take on the field to be my shoes be covered in dirt, right? Why did I do that? Right? It's for that first 30 seconds with the coach that you talk to, right? It shows that I care. It shows that I care, about the craft. I take the time to clean my shoes and not have salt stains on my hat, and my pants not be dirty. Um, I buy the proper uniform. To me, it drives me crazy when you have a short sleeve shirt with a long sleeve shirt underneath it on the field, right? They make a long sleeve shirt for that. They make jackets for that. Just being proud of what you do as an official, and then show that out, right? Um, those things are, mastery level. Most people, if you're a really good umpire, um, and you dress terribly, and your uniform is dirty and all that stuff, you can get by, right? It's just, if you want to go to the next level, and, those are things that separate you from the next guy over. And, if you have a bad day, it can get you through a little bit of that, right? Because, um, I go through it now. My son plays hockey, right? And hockey, um, he refs a little bit of hockey, so I understand a little bit of what, um, you're supposed to, what you're supposed to do, and how you're supposed to look. And when the guys are sloppy, you just, even if they do well, it's just that look of like, yeah, but he doesn't care enough to, you know, not have sweats, not have dirty pants, or not have a shirt tucked in. Um, those little things like that, right? Those are not so much the mind part of it, but, those are, master level of things that, get you to the next level. Right? Talking down a teenager that is off their rocker, right? I spend I don't like being by the crazy parents at hockey games, so I volunteered to run the penalty box, open the door, but I've turned into my son's team's psychologist in there and trying to talk them down and talk them through what's going on, and try to talk about what that a referee's thinking, what they're them doing, and it's been interesting being in there because hockey's a little it's a little different, a little more loud, a little more some of the stuff I've seen on the ice this year. There would be news anchors reporting about how bad it was on a baseball field. So, but ultimately, like once you get to level 3, like when you get your mind wrapped around there and you have the brain power to do that, right? The simple stuff is still going to be there, and you just don't have to use as much capacity to get those things accomplished. Mental toughness as well. Like when you build the confidence of being an umpire and you miss a call and you don't get worked up about it. People are yelling at you from the stands, and you're able to focus, right? And you don't get off you don't get off your game, you don't get flustered, or you don't externally show that, right? Um, that's signs of signs of the mastery level, right? Being in the right position, being efficient with your steps, right? On the field, dealing with the heat, again, dealing with a heated coach. Not saying if you're get to the mastery level of this that you don't mess this up, right? And you go right back down to just reacting, right? Um, I've been known to, I will admit, I have a streak of anger on the field at times, and there's some of it can be well placed, right? And others like it's not helping me at all, right? And um, I tried not to do that, right? You always it's I always talk about too my regular day-to-day job. One of my responsibilities is the HR um, department for a school district, and there's some emails that you get that you just want to punch somebody through the screen, right? And you don't we always talk about talk with our other administrators, talk to my wife when I get those at night, and be like um, don't react to the situation, respond to the situation. And that's my mantra through all that stuff. And I think it's a good mantra for an umpire too, right? Your job is to respond to things that happen on the field. Your job is to respond to a coach or upset player or interactions, heatedness on the field. Um, when you respond to it, it's going to come out, it's going to turn out better most of the time, right? When you're in the reaction mode, it's gonna has a better chance of escalating or not resolving the way you want it to. Um, Staying calm, not letting it get you worked up or surprised or kind of catch you off guard or fluster you. You're able to slow it down and you're able to stay calm and maintain that focus. Will help you in those in life, right? If you're calm in the interactions you have with things, it's going to be better, better for you in the long run. Doesn't always work, right? You could be calm in a situation and it goes to hell, and there's really nothing you can do about it, right? Some of the situations are just going to be bad situations. There's good umpires that bad things happen on the field, but if you are able to stay calm in those situations, you'll get there, and you won't right away, right? It's hard, if you're new to fishing completely, other sports, a lot of game management stuff um, will transfer over, but um, it's different, right? You could be a coach and you'll be really good with interactions with your team and control your players, but when you don't have that, don't have control, like it's just different, right? Because you have two teams you got to deal with, people you don't really know, and still be able to control the game. So those are things that you'll build up on, right? And there's not I need to do X number of games to get to that level. It's really your experience with it and your practice with it and your self-reflection of it. Um, then you can, then it it'll come. So ejections, that's a good question, Aaron. Ejections happen, right? Ejection numbers, low ejection numbers, versus high ejection numbers, doesn't necessarily reflect your ability as an umpire, your ability as a game manager, right? When you're better at game management, your ejection should go lower, but there's times where it just happens, right? If you take if you take ejections and take the emotion out of it, right, and you just you just take it through a process, right? Um, there's I forget how many steps it is. You should anytime there's a behavior that could lead to an ejection at some point, right? Or there's somebody's yelling at you from the dugout, right? Um, the steps you take is ignore, acknowledge, warn, eject, right? So 4-step process, right? Somebody yells, so that pitcher what we talked about earlier, where you call a pitch below the knees, it's a miss, right? Or everybody in the world except for you knows it's a miss, and you call the strike, right? And you get grumbling from the dugout, right? You can ignore it, right? You got the pitch right, but they're still not happy about it. The batter makes a gesture, whatever, right? Your first time through, you can ignore it, right? It's there, file it away, but just it is what it is. It's the emotions of the game. They're teenagers that don't have as much control over the emotions as the adult, person umpiring the game should have, right? Then same thing. So say it was the coach, right? You just ignore it the first time. Again, now all of a sudden it's where's that pitch? Where's that pitch? Where's the pitch? He's saying to the catcher, right? Comes through again. Hey, where's that pitch? And you're gonna say, hey Jim, we're not talking about balls and strikes today. I heard you. We're not talking about today, right? Then they'll be like, oh, I was talking to my catcher, and then you're like, they just let it go, right? Because they weren't talking to the catcher. They might have been, but they want you to hear it, right? And then so ignore, acknowledge, warn, right? Hey, he does it again. Hey Jim, that's your warning, right? That's the official warning. By rule at the NAFHS, that's a restriction. To the dugout, as a caveat, I'm not a big fan of restricting a coach to the dugout. I get it. I'm really trying to come around to it. But it wasn't the thing we did. I think it was in the rule book and was there, but it just wasn't a thing I did when I worked my way up, or it wasn't something that was preached to me as I learned. And I'm pretty sure I've never restricted a coach to the dugout, right? But I will, if I got past the acknowledge part, right? Hey Jim, that's your warning. Take my lineup card out, write it down, right? So that's an official warning about arguing balls and strikes. That's usually enough to calm it down, right? And then you'll hopefully by that you get through that time, you're in the 4th or 5th inning, or later, hopefully, right? And then now that comes again, right? Then he's gone, right? Next one, hey Jim, you're ejected. It shouldn't be a surprise at that point, right? That's the perfect world of what an ejection should be, is those steps, right? Where like Tim said, that when they cross the line, right? Could be, you bring a kid up and that coach comes out of the dugout and says, "Are you fucking kidding me? How's that a fucking strike?" Think, all right, see you later, right? That's egregious, and it could be you're fucking terrible, whatever it is, right? Not saying if somebody swearing is an ejection, right? Because it's not. I don't subscribe to that, right? When they use a swear word toward you, right, or about you, then yes, then I would say yes, right? We're not the moral police out there, right? But if they tell me, and for me, like I have a difference. Everybody's got their own level of it, right? But if you go through a baseball game and don't hear somebody swear, I'd be shocked. It's just the way I have a senior in high school, 17-year-old son. He's a pretty good kid, but he swears. His friends all swear. Hockey, like there's nothing but F-bombs, right? So like we're not in a place where like the culture of the game, right? There's gonna be there, right? But there's a difference between a kid getting thrown out at first base and go and yelling that word out, right? Or a kid saying, getting called out at first base and saying you're effing terrible, right? To me, right? The first one, I'm not even saying anything. I'm just going to go to my position. The second one, he's going home early, like he's getting ejected. So if there's vulgar language directed at you, right, then that's where you go. If it's directed towards somebody from the other team, I mean, it's hard. It's more of it. You're going to acknowledge it and warn them and get them away from each other, right? But like it's kind of how that culture from middle school. I mean, probably from fifth grade on, right? Is that way. I walk through the halls at a really small rural school, and I hear it left and right in the hallway, and they know I'm there because they it's just how they talk, right? We don't have to like it, but we have to know the world we're living in and the world we're interacting with.
A quick thought, if I may.
Sure.
Okay, last year, 16U game, and I was in the field, umpire behind the plate. The pitcher was kind of questioning some of his calls, not verbally, but physically. And so it got to be to where the pitcher put his hands on his hips and looked at the umpire. My partner went off on him. And I thought, oh my goodness, I just cannot do this. But so I turned my back on him, and that it was the worst thing I could have done. The no matter if blue is right or wrong, the other umpire has to step in and control the situation, and that's something I didn't do.
Yeah. So like, what would be what would be the appropriate response, right? A kid, he has been gesturing, and all of a sudden he's in a staring contest with his hands on his hips. What's the appropriate response by the home plate umpire? What would you do? Like, what's
To
your first name?
to me, I would have said, "Play on, let's go."
Okay.
And
So,
he did it maybe once, but his response was yelling.
so um the behavior by the your behavior by the pitcher needs to be addressed, right?
Yes,
So it for me, right? So the first time there's semantics and stuff, I if I talked with a catcher, I tell the catcher, hey, tell him to knock that off, and call time and go out there and talk to him. Sometimes, right, depending how egregious it is, if it's just a little bit, right? For me, all I would do, I would take my mask off and say, hey, knock it off. That's my warning to him, right? Being firm and giving a directive to a pitcher is fine, right? If he continues, then you eject him, right? Just you acknowledging his behavior and telling him to knock it off is perfectly fine. It's a warning, right?
and that's enough. That's all you need to do. You don't yell and get so excited about it.
Yep. See, and that's where, like we talked about this stuff, right? His dealing with this situation, not being there, but making assumptions on it. He struggled to he was in level one with game management, right? Or dealing with a kid, dealing with somebody that does the team prop, if a coach is allowing that to go on, he's probably not controlling his players, and they have their run and do whatever they want, right? So he hasn't built up his ability to handle that situation, right? You can be short, you can be, and if in those, you don't be afraid to eject it. Like it's not, who cares? Like he's gone. Like summertime, he probably doesn't sit out a game. He'll be pitching the next day, right? but I agree. Yeah, you don't want to stoop to that level, right? There's no acceptable place to go nose to nose. There's no nose to nose interactions in amateur baseball anymore, right? There's no screaming and yelling and maybe there's some in college, but they don't want it there either. don't you don't join in on the circus, right? You're just trying to control the circus, right? If you become part of the circus, then it's crazy, right? Then it's gone. So yeah. So just it's a it you that's where like I would say a kid trying to stare me down with the hands on his hips is beyond, it kind of escalates up that ladder, right? And it's a warning, right? And yeah, and then just if it continues, get rid of them, right?
Just kind of remember that that's kind of a scar on the crew. And at the end of the day, the walk away from all of that is it's going to be on the officials. It's not going to be on the kid, because that's what the coach is going to see. That's what the coach is going to tell the AD. And then that's when they're going to call the assigner and talk to the assigner and say, hey, this guy did this. And everybody has a camera, and you will be recorded and it'll be sent around. So I think to address one part that you said, you kind of turned your back on that. I think that's where you kind of had to step in between your partner and say, hey, bud, don't engage, disengage, and let's move on. And then in your post game, kind of need to have talk about the professionalism of our job and be like, you can't do that. And you have to handle it in a more professional manner.
I think in a simple term to put it is we do not want to end up on YouTube.
No, you're going to be on YouTube if you like it or not. Just don't be on the umpire bloopers of or the it's
Right.
yeah. All right, so we've kind of gone over this, but like this is kind of a summary of like how do you move up, right? Through those levels. A lot of your first couple years are just going to be level one, right? And you're going to get pieces of game management and level two thoughts, and the complex situations and stuff you might get them right because you got lucky, right? Or you might have seen that specific play before. But there's gonna be a lot of stuff like a timing play. I didn't know what that was my first 5 or 6 years. Like we gave the timing plays like, yeah, sure. I don't know what that means. I don't think I had any, but they don't come up very often. But there's stuff you don't know, right? There's still stuff rules and rule changes, and I haven't worked a lot of baseball in the last couple of years, so like there's all these rule changes and lineups and hybrid pitching stances, or my references are a little old, so it's gonna be a struggle for me a little bit on some of that stuff at the beginning of this year until I experience it more. So, so it's experience, but it's not necessarily games worked that's going to get you through this. It's experience in the situations, reflecting on what you've done, and using that reflection and that knowledge and the knowledge built up by looking these things up to get better, right? And to and learn from it, right? You can work 1,000 games and still be a level one umpire or rookie umpire because you haven't used any of the stuff that you've interacted with to get better at it, right? Even if you have a bad day or you get caught up and you're flustered and you're getting a shouting match with the coach, right? Right, you just say, hey, what could I have done to change that, right? Be able to take feedback from your partners or from your having somebody to I get tons of questions. I get tons of videos sent to me, TikTok videos, YouTube video, Facebook, that's Instagram, all that stuff about situations and questions. And don't be afraid to ask, right? Don't be some of you work with, you can trust, you see that they know what they're doing, ask those questions. Don't be afraid. You go to our Facebook page. You can ask questions there. You can post videos there, see what's the, what the answers are. There's gonna be some differing opinions on specific plays, but handling situations and handling coaches and handling, conflicts in games it's gonna be pretty similar to what a lot of the veteran umpires are gonna give you.
Hey, Al, if I may.
Yep.
To that note of Al's, what he's saying is you have to be willing to accept the information that is being given to you, whether you like it or not. You may not agree with it, but you have to be willing to accept it so that way you could be move on and advance from it. So that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes when egos get in the way and so on and so forth. So be willing to accept that critiques from veteran officials and always seek it out if you're a new guy and even a veteran guy. I try to all the time. And so anyway, back to you, Al.
Makes sense. So now here, like training, right? Training and mentorship. So formal training, like clinics are required, and our presenters do really well at our clinics. Is that the best way to learn on stuff? No, right? But it's a check the box of the IHSA. The trainings that Tim and Rafi run, and some other guys that work with them, the 2-man training, 1-man training, those on field things are great. There's clinics that you can go to. There's clinics that are geared, that you can travel a little bit to go to, geared towards college. We're working college baseball, geared towards just upper level high school stuff. They're great. Like those things are, the more you can absorb and the more good knowledge you can sort. So that what that does is that's giving you experience, right? And it's giving you more information that you can get into level 1. That's where you don't have to think about how 2-man mechanics work, right? To see how like the difference as you move up a level, right? I think the last 2 or 3 years I've done a 3-man refresher course right before the high school playoffs, right? And all these umpires have worked a ton of playoff games, right? Every one of them is in that session, right? They've done 3-man enough, right? But it's not you haven't done it enough because there's not enough opportunities to get it into a level 1 memory, right? Like your level 1 thinking, like it's always parts of it are always in level 2 for just because the experience and how many times you get to do it, right? So those guys show up and listen to those and go through and get a refresher so they can try to so they're not reacting to as much to situations because that's your guys that are working up your regionals or regionals now are 3-man, but I didn't work a meaningful really meaningful 3-man game at the high school level until I worked a sectional, right? And now I'm just nervous of being there, and I don't know where to be, right? Besides, from what I learned and read in a book and done some stuff in the summer at Cabo and the Cabo tournaments, and that's it. So you're in the most important games of your career, and you're not able to keep the bank mechanics and basic stuff in your level 1 thought process. So mentorship and feedback, we talked about this too. Tim just said it really well too, is don't be afraid to take critical feedback, right? Every game that I work with whoever the partner is, right? I take mental notes. Sometimes if I remember to take pad of paper out there, I'll take physical notes. But I don't give I won't go over that unless they ask me to go over it, right? I'm not gonna force it on anybody, or we're all contracted to work those games equally there. But my job is, I feel, as the president of this group and as a clinician and a trainer, that I should be able, for me, is analyze other guys and try to help them out, right? And our goal is to build a bit better organization, right? And we have a ton of guys in our group that are like that, right? That we just want everybody to be better. And then we're better as a group because of it. But listen to that. Never be above the feedback. No matter who I work with, when I work the plates, I ask how my zone look, right? Even though maybe the guy I'm working with, I don't really care what he thinks what my zone look like. I'm looking for confirmation of, I felt like I had a good game. Was it a good game, or am I off? I felt like I had a bad game. Was it bad? Why was it bad? Right? Maybe I can pick something off of that. But there's always some feedback that you can get. You never, you're never going to be better, too good to get that feedback. Find a guy, some of you work with, some of you run into at the clinic. You can email me, and I'll answer your questions, right? I don't know. I don't know if Wayne is here or not, but I think I saw your name earlier. But Wayne, weekly during the season, and sends me 4 or 5 questions, right? And honestly, for me, it's good to wrap my brain around what is in there, and it gives me some time to not do my work at work and answer baseball questions instead of what I'm supposed to be doing. But to me, that's for me in my position, I love doing that stuff and helping people out. Like that's why I do this, right? I've run these things for like 10 or 12 years now. Before in Crystal Lake, and then we joined Zoom right before, like 2020 is our first year on Zoom before the pandemic hit, just to get more guys there. And I like this because it helps me think and process what I'm doing. So, and don't be afraid to, like, you're gonna get better when you are able to self-assess and realize that maybe I'm missing something, right? Or maybe I need to know more, I need to do more, and I need to get better at what I'm doing, right? Because I have times too where, I'll work with guys that won't, I knew I had a bad game behind the plate, and they're like, "Oh, you're fine," right? And it's like, I know I'm not fine, right? That's where I want to work with a veteran guy that's going to tell me, he's like, "Yeah, you were shit today," like, and I have to be okay with it, and then process of why I was bad, right? Normally, if you are having a good day behind the plate and the whole world is melting down around you about your strike zone, you're probably off a little bit, right? Um, people aren't going to yell at you just to yell at you, and they're not going to get all worked up because they just don't like your strikes. I mean, they're gonna get it worked up sometimes, right? When they think it's not, like, there's pitches here and there, right? But if the world is melting down the entire game, every game, you probably are missing something, right? And you probably have to make an adjustment, or you have to have somebody look at you. There's a lot of things you can do, but once you're into a spot where you want to get yourself better and you're okay with being vulnerable, right? A little bit about not being perfect at what you're doing, right? And making mistakes, then you're going to learn from that and move up, right? If you are in denial about that stuff, then it's gonna be a struggle, right? And you might not get better, right? You might that's umpiring turnover is, it's real, right? Like a lot of guys, don't make it to year 2, and that's, across a lot of all sports, and it's tough. But I think if you're willing to, like, think about it and get better and use your resources to get better, like, it's fun. Like, I umpire for fun, right? I started, when I was 18 years old, right out of high school, and it was for money, and that was all it was for. I played baseball. I know what I'm doing. I was a catcher at one point. I can do this. I didn't know the rules. I didn't know anything, right? But I started umpiring for money, and probably the first 3-4 years were for money, right? And it's like, I kind of like this, and I got to know some of the guys and work your way up. And now it's not for them. I spend more money on things than I actually make, but I do it because of me. I think it's not about, a lot of guys say, "Oh, we do it for the kids and let them have an opportunity to go." It's like, I don't. If I'm going to do something for a kid, it's going to be my own kid. yeah, I do it for me. It's a hobby that pays for me, and I think that's a lot of the guys that have been around a long time and will feel that it's challenging trying to meet your goals as an umpire, and it's just fun. Like I enjoy doing it. Thanks, Wayne.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, it's to everyone. This is Wayne. I asked Alan probably a question a week. Some were silly, some were stupid, some were a little harder, I think.
Yep.
But he was always there to answer my questions, and if I needed any follow up, he was there to do that too. Get a mentor. Gosh, it's unbelievably helpful.
So Wayne, so if you don't mind, I'll tell your story a little bit, right? Um, Wayne, probably I think our last year, maybe what 2018, 2019. Wayne was a rookie umpire. He came to our Crystal Lake sessions. I talked with him all the time. He was there every week. Started working games, and it was a struggle, right? It was, the all the noise and everything around, and we worked through and email and talked, and um, end of the first year is like, it was at the banquet, and you tell me, I don't think I'm coming back next year. Like, and and you try to convince you, and you just decide it wasn't for you, right? And when Wayne showed up again, 2 or 3 years later, it's like, hey, it's this. I remember saying like, hey, is this the same Wayne from before? And it was, right. And for me, that was my trigger to make sure Wayne has a better experience this time, right? And I think he has, because he's back for like, what, this is year 4 since then, right?
It's my third year coming back.
Yeah. And you know what? He's gotten past all that beginning stuff, and he's enjoying it now, and he still comes every week and still asks questions, and always trying to get better. And it's it's hard at first, right? That's when first slide is, why is this shit so hard, right? Doing it for fun, but it's work, right? It can be work, but the more you get at it, the better you get at it, the less work it is, and the more fun it is, right? So but Wayne is one of our success stories. I think, like, he persevered through it, came back. Most people won't come back, right? But he came back, and um, it's good. I'm happy to see you here again, Wayne.
And I appreciate it. And it has a lot to do with guys like you, guys like Tim, Bill Vincent had me out to Chalk Park this year, where I got to work with some incredible umpires, and they were very patient. I was trying to work 2-man. I was trying to learn some more plate mechanics, and it's the people that I work that I watch. I did quite a few games at Stevenson, and Stevenson's varsity guys were typically Linforth and Muller, right? So I got questions on rules. There's Muller. I got questions on plate stuff. I talked to Linforth. People will laugh at me for talking to Linforth, but I found him to be really good.
Not all the umpires you can talk to can be good umpires, so
that is correct.
got to settle sometimes.
But that's correct. So for me, that's what it's been. It's the guys, really is, and girls.
All right, so I think we've kind of beaten all this to death, but this is kind of the progression through what you're looking for. It's ultimately making, if you can live in level 1 with the things that you do, with the more things that are in there level 1 that you don't have to think about to do, don't have to work at to do, the easier your life is going to be as an umpire, right? Once you can move things from, like I said, there's not a lot of level 3 things. It's more of the advanced, like positioning and preventive, officiating, those kind of things. But the more things you can move up from, level 2 to level 1, you don't have to think about as much. It's going to make you better. It's going to make you more confident, and your ability to go on the field. So here, like, takeaway on that is, even if you're a level 3, right? Like, you've gotten to that level where you've got your mastery. You still come to the clinics. I talk to a lot of guys because when I was first coming up, I wanted to present at the clinics, right? And sometimes now I struggle to get guys to fill the rosters out, right? Um, for the guys that are your varsity guys and you're starting to get postseason games and you're starting to master your craft, right? There's nothing better than putting yourself in front of a group of umpires, right? And how you manage that crew, right? I start talking here every night, and um, Rafi throws a goofy rule at me and messes me up, and I promised to buy him shin guards that I never buy them, and but you're okay. Like to me, I'm challenging myself with these things. A lot of the videos that I show, right? I've only watched a couple times, and I'll throw it out there, and I might even not have made my mind up on them at all, but having people talk through and how to work through things. But guys that if you're starting to work your way up and making a name for yourself as an umpire, you should be begging to you present at clinics or present on these nights, and it's going to help you become a better umpire, right? It's going to help you reach out and be able to be a mentor for other umpires, and people see a name with a face, and you can help the whole craft as a whole. So if you haven't presented a clinic or want to do that or have an idea, just let me know and we can make it work. I'm still looking for some guys to fill out the agenda for this year, but always like to have new guys presenting too. All right, so that's all I have on this. Hopefully it was something that was interesting to you guys. This is an experimental topic for me. Going to testing out if we're going to talk about it. You use it as a clinic presentation, but if you're interested, there's some articles and stuff. If you're a golfer, this can help you with your golf game too. But again, this is there's a lot of stuff that goes on with it's I believe a lot of this brain science stuff. Like it makes sense, right? Like why are things hard when they're new? It's because where you're processing things and where you can go and how much you can handle as a person, right? And how much your brain can handle until you can make things easier with your experiences. So, all right, so we're going to open the floor to questions. If you have questions, I will stay on until all of them are answered. I don't know, Tim, if you have anything else. I think you got most of that at the beginning, but if you have anything else to tell the group before we go.
Yeah, I got a couple things that are brewing. So, what we do in March, as a team are released to start practicing is we get a bunch of guys together and go to various schools in the area for preseason pitches, and mark your calendars because as of today, I did get the schedule for Crystal Lake South, and that's going to be on March 11th at 4:45. And what I need you to do is, if you're interested in going, I need you to get a hold of me, send me an email so I can get you on our list. So that way we can coordinate it, know how many guys are going to go. And then we're going to have another session on the probably the 14th. I'm not sure yet exactly if it's going to be the 13th or the 14th, but that'll be at Huntley High School. And that'll be in the evening at I think 6:30. But that's more to come on that. But what I need you to do is go on the website, find my name, and then get my email address and send me an email that you're interested.
Yep. Then while you're on the website, you can go in, sort the open games by Nick 10. We'll pick up 3 games each tonight. Make my life easier. All right, thanks, guys. If you have questions, hang on. Otherwise, have a good night. We'll see you next week.
I had a question. Just what about the areas?